Are you renovating your kitchen and looking for decoration tips and practical advice on how to carry out the renovation? Pay attention, this is the right video. Grab a pen and paper, I'll explain everything here. 15 items, 15 tips, ideas that you can implement in your kitchen renovation so you can have a functional kitchen, a beautiful, up-to-date and modern kitchen. Hey guys, how are you all doing? Alright, I'm Ed Parquiteto, and in this video, this content is to help you not make mistakes when decorating your kitchen. Don't do any kind of service work or execution that you'll regret later, okay? That's very important too. Some here you'll totally agree with me. So write it down, get a pen and paper, rewind the video here because I'm sure it will help you. Remodeling your kitchen, building, or just wanting to. For example, give your kitchen an upgrade. These 15 simple ideas that I'm going to share with you right now will help you a lot. First tip, use the same material for your backsplash and countertop. Imagine that you have your countertop in a white granite, that white stella, a white quartz and so on. Instead of having a small backsplash and a wall covering, you extend the same backsplash made of your sink's material. Check out how interesting this is. In fact, if you do the math, it's actually affordable, it's actually a good value for the money. Why did we use the entire backsplash on that countertop of ours? Imagine that you're going to have on your sink countertop a white stellar granite, a white stellar quartz, and so on. We're not going to talk about the material itself here, but let's talk about the style, the design you're going to have for your backsplash. You bring in your beautiful stone countertop, but then what happens? Instead of just that little 10 or 12 centimeter backsplash, you take the whole backsplash up using the same material as the stone. So you'll have your stone and the backsplash going up there. Aesthetically, it looks better. You won't have that raised detail there, that little step from the backsplash, okay? Aesthetically, it's nicer and gives your kitchen countertop more presence. Another thing that's interesting for you to consider and figure out if it's really going to look good or not, it depends on the material. There are materials where the price per square meter for these countertops is very expensive. So is it really worth it for you to add a backsplash? Now, if you're going to use an average price, a base price for more common materials like granite or quartz, for example, compared to buying a porcelain tile, the mortar, the grout, and the labor for the porcelain tile installer. And then when you bring this into the marble shop's budget, you'll see that it comes out to about the same. Let's put it this way, the same budget you would spend to install this, you could use to make your sink wall in porcelain tile. It's the same amount you would invest to have it. Instead of a small backsplash, a full backsplash on your countertop, right there on your sink. Between the countertop and the upper cabinet, right there, where we usually have the upper cabinet. So, the first option here, the first tip I want to share with you is, instead of using a small backsplash, let's try to use a full backsplash there, which will look nice aesthetically. And suddenly, it might cost the same as what you would spend to install the porcelain tile. Second item here, second tip I want to bring to you is to leave the correct space in your baseboard. Imagine that when you're washing dishes or preparing some food, the tip of your foot keeps hitting that baseboard. So that can't happen. You need to leave enough space for your daily use. This tip here is a functional one. You will feel this difference in your daily life, using your kitchen, cooking, washing dishes, anyway, it doesn't matter. You're there, leaning against the counter at your sink counter. And the baseboard, some people call it a counter base, I like to call it a baseboard. It's not deep, it doesn't have an ideal depth between the end of your furniture and its beginning. This baseboard is usually made of masonry, and in front of it, some decorators use the same material as the stone, but I prefer matching the floor material. You're using a porcelain tile there, and you make the baseboard with the same material as the floor and the porcelain tile. It looks better aesthetically, but it needs more depth. You can't finish the baseboard flush, level with your furniture. Because when you go to wash your dishes or prepare some food, the tip of your shoe, your foot will keep hitting there, and that's going to bother you. It can even cause pain in your kitchen. So, is this a tip even ergonomically speaking for the health of your spine? So, you need to leave a certain depth in your baseboard, right? Like, what would be the ideal measurement? What I use in my projects is 10 centimeters of depth. When the furniture ends here, I set the baseboard back by 10 centimeters. All right? Even if your foot is about size 48 or 50, you still won't hit the tip of your baseboard. So this is an execution tip. When you're working on the project, when you're making the baseboard for your countertop, pay attention to this because it will work really well for your daily routine. There in your kitchen, a recessed handle in the door itself, in your own cabinetry, whether it's on your cabinet doors, your drawers, or your overhead furniture like your cupboard, right? Have you ever seen a recessed handle positioned at a 45-degree angle like that? On the door itself, when you go to pull it, we don't have a handle. For example, in aluminum, a solid one all the way across the door, which aesthetically I don't like. It's not like I'm going to tell you to rip it out or remove it. No, if you have it, there's no problem, okay? Now, in a new project where you hired me to execute, to do your project, I would recommend you use a handle, a groove in the door itself, in the drawer itself, okay? Aesthetically, for the carpentry, imagine you chose a beautiful carpentry, a nice cool color, and then you go and fill it with handles. So whether you like it or not, there will be a break in the aesthetics of your carpentry's decor. So, the recessed handle directly on the door or drawer is a tip I bring to you. It's very functional and also aesthetically pleasing. There are also other models of recessed handles. Suddenly you set the cabinet or the upper cupboard in your kitchen back a little and let the door stick out a bit, then you pull it from there. That's another style of handle too, but this recessed handle is really cool. If you do the math, what would you invest in a handle model that you liked? With this model here, it might end up costing about the same as well. So, that's another tip I want to share with you here. Use the recessed handle built into the carpentry itself, in the door you have on your drawer. There, instead of mainly putting a full-length handle across the whole thing, LED in the cabinet. This one is really cheap, okay guys? It won't increase your cost, your budget there in your carpentry shop. In fact, if you already have your carpentry done and want to put this LED in your cabinet, right below your overhead cabinet, it looks really cool and it's another lighting option. You're renovating, you hired the carpentry shop to make the custom furniture for your kitchen. Don't forget to tell the people who are going to do the carpentry for you that you want a little LED right under your overhead cabinet to light up exactly that wall above your sink countertop. Suppose our first item was the full backsplash, the countertop material extends up, but there's no backsplash. And then you have a LED in that cabinet above which will bathe your cabinet in light. It looks really nice, okay? Just a little LED there. Including it in the project is free. If you ask the carpentry shop, they might even add it as a bonus. Closing the entire project with them at the carpentry shop is great. It looks amazing. It's another lighting option for you if you really like spending time in the kitchen, making different kinds of food, if you enjoy cooking. This is a type of lighting that you'll use a lot in your daily life. So really think about having this little LED. It's like, I already have my cabinet here. How do I get this little LED here? I'll leave the link for this LED strip in the description for you, which you can plug directly into the outlet, okay? No power supply needed. Just plug it into the outlet. If there's an outlet nearby, even hidden in the cabinet, you can run the LED strip there. Just stick it on with double-sided tape and plug it in. And you have the option of having lighting on that wall below your furniture, lighting up your countertop, having a wet area that's a bit larger than usual, larger than the conventional size. This makes our daily use much easier. Using the countertop for washing dishes, food, and placing the dish rack is very convenient. Obviously, this tip I'm giving you about having a wet area on your sink countertop is for those who have a large sink, a large countertop. If you have a small space on your sink, you'll have to work with the wet area within the limits right there in the bowl, maybe just a little bigger, and that's it. Now, if you have the option and a large countertop, why not make the wet area bigger? You already know what the wet area is, but I'll repeat it here and show an example. The wet area is that slightly lower area that stays around our sink. Exactly for when I'm washing dishes, washing food, or doing anything there on top of my sink, on my countertop. This wet area won't, for example, reach my cooktop. It won't reach any bowl or anything that's in the dry area. Having a slightly larger wet area, possibly on the right or left side, depending on your handedness. To put the dish rack, for those of you who don't have the dish rack built into the countertop right there in your sink, that dish rack that's built into the stone, you have the traditional one, the more common one, like the one I have at home. It's really nice to have a slightly larger wet area on the countertop. Again, I repeat, this applies to you who have a large countertop and also to you who have a small countertop. A short space there on your sink's countertop. There's no way to do that. But if you have the option, if you're going to renovate, build, or upgrade your kitchen and you're going to change the countertop, think about that. Here you have a slightly larger area, this wet area of your sink countertop. Now, I want to talk to you about the layout of your kitchen. You've probably heard that a triangle layout using the cooktop, sink, and refrigerator is very functional in our kitchen. But I want to bring this item here to explain it to you a little better. You've probably heard some professionals say that the perfect or ideal kitchen layout is to have a triangle shape. What is a shape, layout, or triangle in a kitchen? It means placing the cooktop, refrigerator, and sink on different sides. Cooktop, sink, refrigerator. They need to be in a triangle. But that's an idea that in our day-to-day design work, especially for those who live in apartments, doesn't work. There's no space, it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. The layout is tight, the space for our kitchen is limited, so you won't be able to implement that. So, what do I say? That would be an interesting idea to use in a large kitchen. Now imagine me here and you. We have an apartment where our sink wall will have a cooktop sink, then a little bit of dry area, refrigerator, so everything on the same countertop. The ideal would be to have this layout in a triangle, okay? To make your daily life easier, your everyday use in your kitchen. But if you don't have it, don't worry about what you hear out there. Oh, my kitchen didn't turn out well. My kitchen didn't turn out well because it lacked the triangle layout and didn't match what I saw online. Don't worry about that. Focus on using and making the most out of the useful space you have in your kitchen. And set aside this idea of a triangle layout in your kitchen for a bit. All right, use what you have. Try to improve and perfect the spaces you have there. If the cooktop is here, your wet area is right there, just after your sink. And the refrigerator is in the corner. And it's serving you, it's working well, you can use your kitchen perfectly, okay? There's no problem at all. This idea of using a triangle here in the layout is only for when we have a lot of space and when we include it in the project. This idea is for the client and they must accept it. If not, hiring me won't help. Oh, I didn't like this triangle idea. Why does the sink have to be here? The cooktop has to be on this side and the fridge here. I'll be spinning here like a fool. No, okay? So do what works for you. Putting aside this idea here that many times when we're designing a kitchen, it doesn't work. Tile only on the sink wall, which is really cool. What I've been using a lot in my projects is putting porcelain tile only on the wall where the sink goes, or sometimes the cooktop. Pay attention, because this is also a way to save money in your kitchen, all right? In my current projects, I really make a point of giving tips and ideas to my clients. To put porcelain tile or stone and everything else only on the sink wall, all right? For example, where are the sink, cooktop, and stove? On that wall, we use the covering, whether it's porcelain tile, granite itself, or whatever. Now, covering the whole kitchen with porcelain tile or with stone, I don't like that. It's not for me. The idea is to make the space as clean as possible, as light as possible. Edipo, you're saying that, but what about using this paint on the other walls? Okay, kitchen, pay attention, think with me here. Kitchen, usually we have a lot of cabinets, we have a lot of cupboards. So that kind of eliminates the need to have tiles on those other walls. Another thing, if I just told you that we should only have tiles on the sink wall, why put them on the other walls? Then there's the idea of using paint, but it might stain or get dirty. You can use a water-based epoxy paint, which is very good, easy to clean, and very resistant. And for the kitchen wall, there are only a few walls that will actually show because of the cabinets. The small can of epoxy paint you buy is cheap. You'll only need one can. Will you be able to paint the other walls with it? So it's an idea, okay? It's a suggestion that I want to show and bring to you here. Have the covering, whether it's porcelain tile or some ceramic you like, only on the sink wall, leaving the other walls free. Cabinetry with no mirror or glass. You know that overhead cabinet above our sink's countertop? Imagine you have that, a mirror that has glass and a mirror in this cabinetry. Let me offer another perspective. Look, I've already brought this tip, this idea, this item that I asked you about in previous videos. Okay, guys, what do you think? Would you use the mirror on that overhead door there in your cabinet, in your kitchen? I got 90% of messages here, responses to this video saying no. Look, it's hard to clean, it gets dirty very easily. Any frying we do already splatters, already makes it very dirty. We have to keep cleaning it constantly because it shows the dirt more. So 90% of the people who answered me said they wouldn't use a mirror on these overhead doors. On this cabinet of ours, 10% said they would. No, I would use it, I like it, I enjoy it. So that's an opinion I'd like to know from you. Would you use a mirror on these overhead doors in your kitchen? I wouldn't use it, okay? I'll be honest, I'll repeat it. If you hired me to design your kitchen cabinetry today, I wouldn't use doors with glass or mirrors. In the lower part, we usually don't use them, and I wouldn't put them in the upper part either. Precisely because it's not an item, not a type of situation that's very functional in daily life, okay? If I install it, you'll complain in a year because it gets dirty easily. I could have just added a door or some cabinetry. So, I'd like to hear your opinion here about this item, whether you would use mirrors on your cabinet doors in your kitchen or not. Undermount sink. This here, guys, is a must-have if you want to have a countertop, right? Your sink countertop needs to be functional. It has to be an undermount sink. This was also another question I asked you in previous videos. Which sinks would you use in your kitchen? Undermount below our countertop, our material flush with the countertop, or a drop-in sink? The undermount sink got a 95% positive response. People said yes, they would use it. The drop-in sink was pretty much the one that came in last place there. And the flush mount sink was also nice, but it's a bit pricey, depending on the model. The sink that's level with the countertop must be the priciest. Exchange of opinions. I want to hear from you. I'm talking to you here, and you can reply to me here in the comments. Picture having a drop-in sink in your daily life. It will create that slight bump there, that little rise that we have on our sink. And then pulling water into the sink is a hassle, right? It would be harder for you to clean, you know? A little bit of dirt can accumulate around the edge of your sink. With an undermount or flush mount sink, we don't have this problem. So what we're talking about here, I want you to understand, okay? I'm not telling you to never use an undermount sink. If you hired me for the project, I wouldn't use it. I'd use a flush mount or undermount sink. It's not that you can't use it. If you like this model, that's fine. But for daily use, you'll agree with me. You'll have a little more work to clean and maintain your countertop. Water filter, that traditional filter we have, it should be on the wall, not on top of your sink countertop. There's a water filter in your kitchen, which is natural. It's normal for us to have one. I have a water filter here at home. Other people sometimes have the filter on the faucet itself. A lot of people like it, a lot of people don't. I'd like to know your opinion. Are you one of those who prefer the traditional filter, the one we've always had, or a filter on the faucet? I'd like to hear your opinion, but what's the tip I want to bring to you here? Having a water filter in your kitchen, that's natural. But in my opinion, and in my projects, I always try to put it on the wall, never on the countertop. Okay, only if there's no other way, only if there's no option. If you're going to lose a lot of space and your overhead cabinet space is already limited, okay, you can leave it on your countertop, but otherwise always keep it on the wall to keep your countertop clear. You can relax when cleaning or doing anything on your countertop. The filter on the wall is already well fixed. Really cool. There are situations where you can even make a little carpentry box to hide that little hose and the outlet behind it. I've done that before on a similar project. So my tip and my idea for you is, are you going to install the filter? Are you planning it? Are you remodeling your kitchen? Think carefully, then install the filter, water connection and power outlet there. On the wall, never on the countertop. Now, if you already had your kitchen, if you bought an apartment or a house and you're not going to renovate it now, you can't move it. It must stay on the countertop. However, you can add anchors and mount the filter on the wall to keep your countertop free. A really cool and very functional tip for everyday life. There in your kitchen, a trash can on your sink countertop. There in your kitchen, would you use it? I don't like it and wouldn't recommend it, though many clients ask for it when we're designing a new project. It's like, don't forget my little trash can, okay? Should the trash can stay in the wet area or in the dry area of the countertop? Pay attention to this tip I'm going to tell you now, the little trash can. You need to decide if you want a trash can on your sink countertop. All right, okay, no problem. In my opinion, it should stay in the dry area, never in the wet area. That's my opinion. If there's no way, if you really can't avoid it and you have to put it in the wet area, if possible and allowed, always keep the small trash can in the dry area. But I'm one of those people who doesn't like having the trash can on the countertop, okay? That's just my personal opinion. If you hired me to do a project, I would tell you that. Look, let's not put the trash can here on our countertop, okay? First, we can't have a big trash can on our countertop. It would have to be a tiny one there, okay? Second, I don't know. I don't think it's very hygienic to have a little trash can on the countertop. I'm not criticizing you if you have one, for God's sake, okay? If you have a little trash can on your sink countertop, I'm not criticizing you. I'm just saying that in a project I'm going to do, I wouldn't put one. I prefer to use a trash can, for example. In two situations, that regular floor one, the traditional kind where you step on the pedal and so on, or a trash can built into the cabinet itself, in the cupboard, which is also very common. Now, on top of my countertop, I don't like it, I'm not a fan, but I'd like to hear your opinion. Would you put a little trash can on your sink countertop on your new stone that you're going to install there? Answer me here. Is it like, yes, I would use the trash can on my countertop? Or is it like, no, I agree with you, it has to be that traditional trash can, the one on the floor or in the cabinet? 220 volt outlet. You have no idea how much of a difference it makes to have a 220 volt outlet in your kitchen. For us who live here in São Paulo, I live here in São Paulo, here we have 127 and 220 volts, but there are places here in Brazil where there's only 220 and then all the appliances are 220. In those regions, in the Northeast, it's more common like that, and in the South too. Now here in the Southeast, it's very common for us to use 127 volts to make all the power outlets in our house. When are we going to do it in the kitchen? Think about it, think about it. How important is it for you to have at least one 220 volt outlet there on your kitchen counter, even if you have all the appliances in your kitchen? 127 volts? But at least leave one outlet, you know, that little outlet, even if it's over there next to the fridge in a little hidden corner or something. But at least leave one 220 volt outlet in your kitchen with a general use socket or something so you have that option. Because if you ever need to use some appliance, some equipment that only works on 220 volts or something powerful like that, you'll already have it, okay? So sometimes to do it. I didn't leave any 220 volt outlets here, so if you want to make changes later, it will cause a bit of trouble. It might require breaking something. If you're already renovating your kitchen and handling electrical work, just ask the electrician, hey, leave a 220 volt outlet for me in case I need it. That's a good tip for you too. Matte porcelain tile on the floor is okay. I support using porcelain material including matte finish on our kitchen floor. I've already received several questions from you guys here. Speaking of which, do you recommend using vinyl flooring in my kitchen? Do you recommend using polished flooring, porcelain tiles, or any kind of polished ceramic on the floor of our kitchen? I don't think so, okay? I wouldn't recommend you use vinyl flooring in the kitchen or polished porcelain tiles in your kitchen. I'm one of those people who like to design and recommend porcelain tiles to clients, always for the floor, okay? Always porcelain tiles. And in the kitchen and bathrooms as well, just to add, also in the laundry room. Matte finish, okay? For those who can't tell polished from matte. It's simple. Polished is shiny, matte is dull. How does that affect your daily life? It's a matter of safety. Matte gives you a little more grip so you feel safer walking on it. It won't be as slippery, to put it more clearly. When polish gets wet, it becomes more slippery. That's natural. Let's use polished for the wall, porcelain tile on the wall, but for the floor, porcelain tile, and even matte. Functional lighting in neutral white. You need to have centralized lighting with the main fixture using neutral white. Do you want to use warm white lighting, that more yellowish one, for your kitchen? There's no problem at all. You can use it if you like and want to use it. There's no problem at all. Go ahead and use it. In the current projects I do, I always recommend my clients to use neutral white on the kitchen ceiling. Okay, to make the environment brighter, more pleasant for them to use, especially in the kitchen. Guys, we need to have a main functional lighting. Whether it's those recessed fixtures, the longer ones, or LED strips, but it has to light up. It has to be functional lighting. I walk into my kitchen, press the switch, and it has to be well lit. Your kitchen is a place where you need to pay attention. You'll be cooking food, cutting food, cleaning all the time. So you need to have functional lighting, and my tip for you is to use neutral white lighting and a good fixture with good strong lighting capacity. Once you turn it on, you'll use it daily. You can have spotlights in your kitchen, sure. You can have profile lights. You can have some pendant lights above the counter. There's no problem at all. Yeah? You can have different types of lighting, but the main lighting, that big fixture that's going to light up the space, that one can't be missing. Finally, guys, the faucet. I want to talk to you now about two models, okay? I am in favor of that cleaner faucet, but there are a lot of people who like the gourmet faucet. Before we talk about this last item here about the faucet, the LED strip that you can put underneath the cabinet. I'll leave it as well, I'll also leave you the small trash can, whether built-in or on the floor. Now, about the faucet, I want to talk to you about the faucet here. I'm an advocate. And you who follow me here know about using a cleaner, more minimal, lighter faucet that even has a filter in it. Obviously, it has a higher added value. It costs more. Other people have already responded to me here. They like the gourmet faucet, right? That's fine. In my current project, I would recommend you use the smoother, cleaner, simpler faucet. Now, it's not a sin. You can use a gourmet faucet if you like it, think it's cool, or find it functional. There's no problem at all. But I prefer to use a simpler faucet for one reason. There are several. There are some advantages and disadvantages to the gourmet faucet. Among them, the advantage I see is that the gourmet faucet has a good reach, it has a sprayer and all, and it works really well. The downside is it's very big. A gourmet faucet is usually large and can overpower your decor. There are materials. If you don't buy a good quality material, it will rust easily. It will. Because it's a large faucet, if you install it directly on the sink, it will require maintenance sooner because it moves a lot due to its size. All right? So, a cleaner, lighter, simpler, and smoother faucet, I think, will work much better compared to a gourmet faucet. If you have one or want to install one, that's fine. Alright guys, so here are 15 tips actually. It's not even 10, it's actually 15. That you can have in your kitchen. Functional tips that will make your kitchen work for your daily use. Some cheap items that you can save money by buying, and some of them here for you to already use during the execution phase of your kitchen, alright? So I hope you enjoyed and liked these items here. If you enjoyed it, liked it, and you're not subscribed to our channel yet, go ahead and subscribe, alright? The links to some of the products I mentioned to you are in the video description here. And I'll see you in our next video. Take care.